the show. How high up is this individual who's talking about how he's going to sabotage Trump at every turn? A Defense Department branch chief attacking President Trump. Can you put this in perspective for us?
Yeah, it's very high. I mean, you're talking about something that's nearly like an assistant secretary of defense type position. You're talking about, just below the criteria and thresholds of what you'd probably need for a Senate confirmation type hearing. So, yeah, I mean, definitely could help to thwart efforts, definitely could be a disruptor within the Department of Defense, and certainly not what our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, needs. I mean, look, I hate to say it, but look, we're in the first 100 plus days. We're still having to clean house from all the deep state rats. We're still having to go after those who are implants and who are career bureaucrats who don't want to see the America First agenda to succeed. That's within the Department of State, that's within the FBI, that's within the Department of Defense, and that's certainly across the entire whole of government. And so we're going to keep weeding these people out. We're going to keep finding them. But look, here's the deal, Benny.
The deep state is real. Remember, Trump mentioned one of his goals is to drain the swamp from the government. Family, we must understand the depth of the issue and pathways to reform. Corruption within bureaucratic and governmental structures is a deeply rooted issue that plagues many nations across the globe. It undermines the rules of law, hinders economic growth, and erodes public trust in institutions. Addressing this malady requires multifaceted approach, patience, and sustained effort over time. Corruption manifests in various forms, from petty bribery to grand embezzlement to state captured. Bureaucrats, who are often the face of government policies and services, may engage in corrupt practices for personal gain, to secure loyalty, and to systematic pressures. Similarly, high-ranking officials may leverage their position to mass wealth explicitly, affecting both the highest equal lines of power and the fundamental layers of public administrations. Guys, you see the picture. The Democrats and the liberals are being exposed for their alleged corruption. Time revealed everything, and the Trump administration is working and operating on warp speed. Phew.
The more that individuals like myself keep coming after them, you watch. Whether it's my trip to Syria to try and get fact-finding missions, whether it's rescues that I've done, whether it's my defense of Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, whether it's the promotion of the America First Trump agenda, watch how quickly the fake media starts to attack guys like me, like Eli Crane, like Andy Biggs. We saw what they did to Matt Gaetz and others. I mean, the bottom line is that we have to keep exposing these individuals if we want to see America succeed.
The deep state and the liberals are attempting to stop progress and to keep their alleged corruption from being eradicated. Pete is in their way. They don't want Trump to succeed. They want to change our world for the minority and not for the majority, allegedly.
So what should happen to somebody like this? I mean, it's one thing to have, it's one thing to have like a bad FBI agent, or we didn't like how he prosecuted the January 6 cases. It's a different thing when you're inside of a military command, right? And you're saying that I'm going to actively sabotage the commander in chief?
Well, first off, he should be immediately removed from his position and under investigation. There should be a hearing that is conducted with regards to armed services. There should be a dismissal of this individual who's admitting to sabotage or to try and thwart the efforts of the America First agenda. And here's the thing. Why would an individual who claims to be so patriotic want to stop the Secretary of Defense, who's done a great job going after our enemies like the Houthi rebels, who's rebuilt the morale of the military and gotten recruitment numbers up, who's ridded the military of diversity, equity, inclusion, the most divisive policy under the Obama and Biden administration for meritocracy? Why would you want to do that unless what you're trying to really do is be that deep state in bed who's trying to destroy America? That's not patriotic.
No. So again, as a military man and a veteran of how many years of service?
I spent almost 5 years in the military, and then spent another roughly 5 years with State Department, and then did a little work with the agencies and also with USAID.
So, little work with the agencies. We know what that means. So you're well familiar of what happens if you sabotage the chain of command. I mean, this should be some major penalties, right?
I mean, there's certainly penalties that should come down on this. I mean, this should be something that could be potentially under a criminal charge and trial. I mean, this is an individual who's pled an oath, who's actually signed up, and who knows, if an individual is so willing to sabotage, I'd be interested to know what his actual level of clearance is and what he may or may not have released. I'd like to know whether or not there are certain classified information that he's been willing to divulge. And so there's so much to this. And again, this goes back to even the attempted assassination stuff, right? When you start peeling that onion back, you never know what you're going to find. And it just gets deeper and deeper. And so I think that a full investigation into this individual, his clearance levels, the level of information that he has, and how far he was willing to go could reach the levels of treason.
It's crazy. We are the only people who have really pressed Kristi Noem, who we think is doing a great job, on the assassination. And she said, well, we're not sure if he was acting alone. And I go, hold up, what now? And
well, the good thing, though, is that we've actually had some further meetings, and we're waiting to get some information out. But myself and Eli Crane did meet with ODNI. We did meet with one of the head guys there who's looking into further investigations into this. I know a lot of people were thinking that since our initial report and hearing that it's over. It's not. We've just been waiting on the administration to get in place so we can actually get access to the necessary documents, information, so we can continue to go ahead and get into this. We are far from over from our investigation. Congressman Crane and I literally sat in ODNI 2 weeks ago, made requests for information, and also from the IC communities. Our director of national intelligence has been very interested in trying to dig into this with Tulsi, as well as for Joe Kent, who's an amazing American and patriot, former special operations guy, CIA, knows the information in and out, ran for Washington 3 against Herrera Butler. But we are far from over from digging into this and determining the Iranian regime influence, but also those here in America who may have been a part of it as well.
It is a matter of time before we find out the truth and get to the bottom of this cover-up to assassinate Donald Trump. Family, can we say cover-up?
Yeah, perhaps you could answer just a couple lingering questions, since you know a lot more than we do, and this is the time in the show where I tell everybody that the official assassination task force did nothing, and it's only Corey Mills and Eli Crane who are actually hitting the bricks.
Well, and yourself as well, Benny. Don't exclude yourself, because you played a major role in getting the media hyped up on this and getting and exposing things and actually being on the ground in Butler before many would.
I mean, the only people that actually laid where Thomas Crooks laid, with all the blood split. We were there so fresh, the blood was still.
That's right.
The blood they couldn't power wash off was still there. Okay, so answer me this question. This is not exactly where I wanted the conversation to go, but I have to go there. We have this new footage of Matthew Thomas Crooks speaking on his cell phone, like doing a FaceTime call, man. We see him on his phone right before he shoots the president. We know he has all these encrypted apps. We know that the government can get into those apps. We know they can get into his phone. We have never seen photos of his bedroom. We don't know what books he was reading. We don't know anything about him. We know more about Shannon Sharp's DMs with an OnlyFans chick than we do about the guy who nearly caused a civil war in this country, right? And the end of Western civilization as we know it. This is really critical, and it's starting to piss me off. Now we're starting to see a little bit of revelation. I'm going to try and connect something here. I don't know if it works. Tell me if it works. We have little bits of revelation about Ralph and about other potential assassinations of President Trump that were in the works. There seems to be some major ties to Ukraine or the Ukrainian military. There was another dude that was just nabbed for killing his parents and then working with a Ukrainian number, according to the DOJ filing. This is a Wisconsin kid who's going to try and fly a drone and kill Trump. And we're starting to see this sort of coalescing of a connection with this overseas influence trying to influence Americans to murder Trump. That's the pattern that's being created. Does that pattern apply to Matthew Thomas Crooks?
Well, I think that it very well could. Again, what we don't know is what we don't know. And I think that if we looked back into it, you also had a Pakistani native who traveled to Tehran, who then traveled and crossed through the borders, and then also went into Houston, Texas, where he was questioned by the FBI and released, who had a hit list of not just President Trump, but others. And that was obviously an Iranian plot as well from the regime. So I think that we have to look at the fact that President Trump's the most loved and hated individual in the world. You have the cartels who are seeing a rapid decrease in their revenue. You have a 600% increase in apprehensions. You've got the borders, which have been secured thanks to President Trump. You've got an expansion of the Abrams Accord, which is disrupting the Iranian regime, the Ayatollah and the Quds Force and the IRGC. You've got people who are not wanting Middle Eastern stability, which the president has been pushing for. You've got the Ukrainians who...
There you have it. Keep these wonderful patriots like Corey Mills and his team in your prayers so that they could make endless progress to uncover the truth and conduct thorough research and discovery to make America great again. In addition, we must press on to bring to justice the treasonous characters that are attempting to destroy the way of life in America. And I will be linking Benny's full video if you prefer to see the full interview in the description. We will continue to report the news and allow you to be informed. Thank you.